Hey guys, it is me, Gateway Politics. I know, I've been inactive this whole cycle, but I am here with just one more sleep to go until this is all over with. And I just gotta say, it's been a long time running. I cannot believe that we're already here, man. Because when I started this channel, we were 3 years away from what is literally tomorrow. It's just crazy how quickly these last 4 years have passed. But with all that being said, today I'm going to be laying out my final presidential election prediction, and I'm only going to be covering 7 states because that's all I have time for. All the states that you see colored in already are not my predictions. That's just how the states went in 2020. So this is assuming that none of the other states on this map actually changed from 2020. So I'm not accounting for a potential upset in Virginia or a potential Harris upset in, say, Texas or anything like that. I'm not accounting for that. I'm simply accounting for the more irrelevant states to this video and how they went in 2020. And doesn't mean I believe that these states will go the way they are on this map by a safe margin. I just fill them in the way they went in 2020, just so I can get them out of the way, so I can talk about just 7 specific states that will decide the 2024 presidential race. But before we get started with that, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends, and also stay tuned. Mark your calendars for tomorrow night because we will be going live at 5 p.m. Central for 2024 election coverage. We will have it all right here. We'll be covering the presidency, the Senate, the House, the governors. We'll be covering everything, really. And just make sure you have your calendars marked for tomorrow night. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the state of Arizona. Now, if we look at the polling in Arizona, you can see Trump has just shy of a 3-point lead here. And going back to the polling in 2020, you can see it was almost spot on. Biden did do a little bit better. Biden did do a little bit worse than the final polling in Arizona, but he still ultimately won the state. And if we go back to 2016 polling in Arizona, you can see it was generally very accurate. Right now, for 2024, there is currently a Trump lead by about 2.5 points in the state, which, if we account for both 2016 and 2020 margins of error in terms of the average in Arizona, that would account for around a 3-point Donald Trump victory. Not to mention the early vote in the state of Arizona has been very Republican favorable. Dems just haven't really been showing up early. We'll see what happens in the election day vote, but I do think Donald Trump, by what we are seeing so far, will carry the state of Arizona. I don't know if it's going to be 3 points because polling could very well underestimate Harris in Arizona. That is entirely possible. I have Trump winning Arizona by about 1.5 points. It could be that close. It could be a little bit more, or it could also be closer. Who knows? Or maybe Harris could even win the state. All of those are entirely possible. But I do have Donald Trump winning the state of Arizona by around 1.5 points. Moving on now to the state of Georgia. If we look at Georgia in the polling, we'll see just shy of a 2-point lead in the state of Georgia. And once again, polling in Georgia tends to be very accurate. It wasn't as accurate in 2020 as it showed a 1-point lead for Trump in the state of Georgia. But if you look at 2016 in the state of Georgia, you'll see it was actually pretty accurate. Now, it is entirely possible that there is a polling miss in favor of Harris in the state of Georgia. However, if it's a polling miss like 2020, then that would still give Trump a very narrow win in the state of Georgia. If I'm doing my math correctly here, Let's see. Oh, that's Ohio. Where is Georgia? There it is. So going back to 2020 in Georgia, that was around a 1.3 percentage point miss in favor of Biden in the polling. So if that happens again in favor of Harris, Trump would still win the state by 0.4, which, yes, is still a very narrow margin of victory, and that could very well happen if independents do indeed break for Kamala Harris, which is a definite possibility. I do have Donald Trump winning the state by just shy of a point. I believe it'll be somewhere around 0.7 or 0.8. It's really hard to give Trump a much bigger victory in Georgia than that, but I do believe he will ultimately win the state because of the high early turnout that we've seen from the rural areas. And we'll see how Election Day vote goes, but the early vote in Georgia certainly does look more Republican favorable than, say, 2020. All right, now I want to move on to the state of North Carolina. If we look at North Carolina, the polling in North Carolina typically tends to underestimate Trump. It did both times. It did in 2016 and it did in 2020, even though Trump had polling leads one day out from Election Day in both of those elections. I think Trump is going to win North Carolina by about 2.5 points. I think this is a very consensus prediction. I think most people would agree with me that Donald Trump is probably going to win North Carolina by probably no more than 2 points, to be honest. I still think it'll be close, but Donald Trump is going to win the state. Next up, I want to go to the state of Nevada. I'm not going to lean too heavily on polling here because polling does tend to favor Republicans tremendously. Polling actually did No, it was actually right on the money in 2020. So we'll see, but it underestimated Democrats in 2016, and it especially did in 2022. So Nevada, it's a very tricky state for me. I do have trouble predicting Nevada sometimes. I'm going to go with the safe option here and give it to Harris, just because I don't trust Nevada all the way, and it usually is a pretty tough state to predict for me. Every time I predict it to go red, it goes blue. Every time I predict it to go blue, it goes red. So we'll see. But I have Harris just barely holding on in the state of Nevada. I do think Trump will do better than 2020 there, but Harris is going to win the state. Trump, I don't believe, did enough in Nevada to win the state. So now I'm going to move on to the state of Michigan. Honestly, the early vote in Michigan, if I can just pull this up real quick. This is really all I have to go with in terms of early voting in Michigan. But as you can see, Democrats have a pretty narrow lead, honestly, for early vote in Michigan. Just a 3-point lead for them there. I don't remember exactly what it was in 2020, but I know it had to have been more than that. Now, regardless if whether or not you think vote cannibalization is a real thing, I don't trust Michigan all the way. I just want to say that, but the early vote doesn't look nearly as bad as it did in 20 or even 22. So, honestly, Michigan is a state I struggle with, as well as Nevada. Part of me almost wants to go with the safe option and give it to Harris, but I'm going to go with tilt Trump in Michigan, just purely due to the early vote. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick Trump to just barely win in Michigan. I may very well be wrong, and I have a feeling I probably will be, but that is going to be my pick in Michigan. Trump wins by pretty much his 2016 margin. I believe Michigan is going to be the closest state in this election, by the way. It's not going to be Georgia. It's not going to be Nevada. It's going to be Michigan. Moving on to the state of Pennsylvania. Honestly, This is going to be a hot take for me. I think Pennsylvania goes to Trump by at least a point and a half. I don't know what it is, but I feel really good about Trump winning Pennsylvania. I feel like he has a strong connection with the voters of Pennsylvania ever since he got shot there. I think something about Pennsylvania just changed. Something about the momentum in Pennsylvania just changed the day that Trump got shot in Butler on July 13th. So Pennsylvania, another thing about Pennsylvania is it typically underestimates Trump in the polling. You can see it happen in 2020, a day out. You could see it happen in 2016, a day out. And Trump actually has a polling lead in Pennsylvania. And if that's any indicator based on past polling errors, then Trump should win the state of Pennsylvania by at least 2, actually, based on past polling errors. Or maybe even 3 if you're going by 2016 polling errors. But regardless, Trump should be able to win the state. I think he will. I think he'll win it by a point, maybe a point and a half. But Pennsylvania will definitely be key to Donald Trump winning this election, and I think he will win it and win the presidency. Now, Wisconsin. Polling in Wisconsin is historically bad. Just look at this. 2016, Clinton plus 6.5. What was it in 2016? Trump plus 0.7. What about 2020, you say? What about 2020? Final, Biden plus 6.7. Final result, Biden plus 0.7. That's a difference in favor of Trump by 6 points. 6. Now if we go back to 2024, Harris plus 0.4. Now if that is any indicator, then Wisconsin should look like this. I'm just saying, if past polling errors are any true indicator in Wisconsin, Wisconsin should look like this. Wisconsin should be like a 5-6 point win for Trump, realistically. Of course, I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a point and a half. I think it's going to be very similar to Pennsylvania. But I do think Trump is going to win it. And in terms of the early vote in Pennsylvania, we can actually go ahead and look at, Wisconsin. We can actually go ahead and look at that. I don't think it really tells you a whole lot. It just tells you if you're a Republican in Wisconsin, turn out tomorrow. If you haven't voted already in Wisconsin, please vote. This early vote thing, I don't entirely know what to take from this. And to be fair, party registration is modeled by TargetSmart and other commercial sources. Wisconsin does not actually release party affiliation data in their early vote data, so we don't know for sure what's going on with the early vote in Wisconsin. But regardless, if you live in any of these 7 states, or if you live in any state in America for that matter, if you have not voted already, please get out and vote. Make your voice heard. And for any Trump supporters watching this video, brace yourselves. Be mentally prepared for disappointment. Be mentally prepared for a Harris presidency, because it could very well happen. This election is close enough where either of these two candidates could end up sweeping all of the swing states. Is it likely that Harris will win all of the swing states? Hell no. Is it likely that Trump will win all the swing states? Yes, it actually is more likely due to the polling. And I'll due to other factors too, due to the early vote. Early vote doesn't look great in a state like even Pennsylvania compared to how it did in 2022 and 2020. If you look at Michigan, it doesn't look perfect. If you look at Wisconsin, you can't really interpret a whole lot from it since party affiliation is only modeled. But it's certainly more likely that Trump sweeps all the swing states than it is that Harris sweeps all of them. But still, my point being, a Harris victory in this election is still very, very possible. And Trump supporters need to realize that. And Trump supporters need to realize that this is an election where you simply cannot stay home. You cannot stay home, sit by, and watch this country be overrun by the Democratic Party. You simply can't do it. So if you have not voted already, please vote tomorrow. It's a very important election ahead of us. It will determine the future of our republic. Please, I beg of you, if you have not voted already, please vote tomorrow. I've already done my part. I've already voted. But if you have not already, vote. Vote, vote, vote. They can't stop all of us. You have to vote. Anyway, that is going to be the end of this video. Like I said, tomorrow night, starting at 5 p.m. Central, we're going to stream. We're going to stream the election results. We're all going to be there together. We're going to have a good time. Please, like I said, just vote. And that's basically going to be all I have for you guys. I will see you tomorrow night. And until then, Gateway Politics out.